Please don't hurt me. I can't see you. My 5-year-old blind daughter Lucy was crying on the ground with our HOA president Karen pointing a loaded gun at her head. Lucy had accidentally stepped on Karen's grass. Karen didn't know I'm an FBI agent. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching, also like and subscribe for more stories. Karen standing over her with a loaded pistol pointed at her head was Karen Williams, our HOA president. I'm tired of your brat wandering onto my perfect lawn. Karen screamed. Maybe a bullet will teach her to stay where she belongs. Lucy was trembling, her small white cane lying broken beside her. She had accidentally stepped onto Karen's grass while trying to find her way home from the neighbor's house. For this innocent mistake, Karen was threatening to murder my blind child. I was watching from my kitchen window, having just gotten home from work. I immediately reached for my FBI badge and service weapon while calling for backup. This is Special Agent Jennifer Rodriguez. I have an armed suspect threatening a disabled child at 1247 Oak Street. Send all available units now. Karen had no idea that the mother of the girl she was about to kill was a federal agent. She was about to learn that threatening an FBI agent's child is the biggest mistake of her life. I moved quietly through my back door, using my training to approach without being detected. Lucy was still crying, begging Karen not to hurt her. I'm sorry, lady. I didn't mean to step on your grass. I can't see where I'm going. Blindness is no excuse for disrespecting my property, Karen snarled, pressing the gun closer to Lucy's head. Your mother should have taught you better. That's when I stepped out from behind the tree with my gun drawn and my badge visible. FBI. Drop your weapon immediately. Karen spun around, shocked to see me in full agent gear. You're FBI? But you're just a neighbor. I'm Special Agent Rodriguez, and you just pulled a gun on a federal agent's child. Put the weapon down now or I will shoot. Karen's face went white as she realized the magnitude of her mistake. She had just committed multiple federal crimes against the wrong family. But instead of surrendering, Karen made an even worse decision. She grabbed Lucy by her shirt and pressed the gun to her temple. Back off or the blind kid gets it. I don't care if you're FBI. My worst nightmare was unfolding. My blind daughter was being used as a human shield by a psychopath with a gun. But I was trained for situations exactly like this. Karen, listen to me carefully. You're already facing federal charges for threatening a child with a weapon. Don't make this worse by adding kidnapping and hostage-taking. I don't care about charges. This neighborhood was perfect before you people moved in with your defective kid. Lucy was crying harder now, confused and terrified. Mommy, I'm scared. I can't see what's happening. I'm right here, baby. Everything is going to be okay. Karen pressed the gun harder against Lucy's head. Nothing is okay. Your blind brat ruins everything. She can't see where she's going, so she wanders everywhere like a lost animal. The sound of sirens filled the air as my backup arrived. 6 FBI vehicles and 4 police cars surrounded Karen's house. She was now facing the full force of federal law enforcement. Karen Williams. Agent Thompson's voice boomed through a megaphone. You are surrounded. Release the child and surrender immediately. Karen looked around at all the armed agents and police officers pointing weapons at her. She finally seemed to understand that her life was over. This is all your fault, she screamed at me. If you had controlled your disabled kid, none of this would have happened. Ma'am, a 5-year-old blind child accidentally stepping on grass is not a capital offense, Agent Thompson called out. Release the girl and we can end this peacefully. There's nothing peaceful about living next to these people. Do you know how annoying it is to watch a blind kid stumble around the neighborhood every day? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This woman was threatening to murder my daughter because her disability annoyed her. Karen, Lucy is a little girl who's learning to navigate the world without sight. She's not trying to bother anyone. Well, she bothers me. And I'm the HOA president. I have the authority to maintain neighborhood standards. HOA presidents don't have the authority to execute children, I replied, keeping my gun trained on her while looking for an opening to save Lucy. Karen was getting more agitated as the reality of her situation sank in. You people think you can just move into a nice neighborhood and ruin it with your problems? Your blind kid lowers property values. Ma'am, you're talking about murdering a child because of her disability? Agent Martinez said through the megaphone. Think about what you're saying. I've thought about it plenty. I've been planning this for weeks. That admission sealed Karen's fate. She had just confessed to premeditated attempted murder in front of dozens of law enforcement officers. Lucy was getting weaker from fear and stress. Mommy, I feel dizzy. I want to go home. Soon, sweetheart. Mommy's going to get you home soon. I noticed that Karen's grip on the gun was getting looser as she ranted about neighborhood standards and property values. She was so focused on justifying her actions that she wasn't paying attention to her weapon control. Using my FBI training, I found the perfect moment. When Karen turned to yell at Agent Thompson, I took the shot. My bullet hit Karen's wrist, causing her to drop the gun and release Lucy. Immediately, Agent Martinez rushed in and pulled my daughter to safety while other agents tackled Karen to the ground. Lucy, Mommy's here. I ran to my daughter and scooped her into my arms. She was shaking but unharmed. Mommy, why did that lady want to hurt me? I didn't do anything bad. Because she's a very sick person, baby. But she can never hurt you again. As the paramedics checked Lucy for injuries, I watched Karen being handcuffed and read her rights. She was still screaming about property values and HOA authority even as she was bleeding from her gunshot wound. You can't arrest me. I'm the president of this HO. I was protecting our neighborhood from undesirable elements. Agent Thompson looked at Karen with disgust. Ma'am, you just held a gun to a disabled child's head. Your HOA position doesn't give you the right to threaten murder. She's blind. She doesn't belong in a normal neighborhood. People like her should live in special places away from normal families. The hatred in Karen's voice was shocking. She genuinely believed that my daughter's blindness made her less human and less deserving of safety. Lucy was cleared by the paramedics and released to go home. As I carried her toward our house, neighbors who had gathered to watch were staring in disbelief. Agent Rodriguez, Mrs. Chen from next door called out, "We had no idea Karen was capable of something like this. We're so sorry." "Has she bothered your children?" I asked. "She's complained about kids playing outside, but we never thought she'd actually hurt anyone." More neighbors came forward with stories about Karen's escalating behavior toward children in the neighborhood. The FBI would be investigating whether other families had been threatened. Mrs. Williams from across the street revealed that Karen had approached her 2 weeks earlier, demanding that she keep her 4-year-old son with autism under control, because his stimming behaviors were disturbing the peace. "Karen told me that children like ours don't belong in family neighborhoods," Mrs. Williams testified later. "She said we should live somewhere designed for our kind of problems." Mr. Peterson, who lived 3 houses down, reported that Karen had complained to the city about his daughter with cerebral palsy using a wheelchair on the sidewalks. She claimed the wheelchair was causing excessive wear on the pavement and that we should pay for repairs. That evening, while Lucy slept safely in her bed, I sat down to write my incident report. As an FBI agent, I'd seen plenty of criminals, but Karen's casual willingness to murder a disabled child was among the most disturbing cases of my career. The next morning, Lucy asked me why some people hate others for being different. "Some people are afraid of what they don't understand, sweetheart. Karen was scared of your blindness because she's ignorant and mean. Will she go to jail for trying to hurt me? For a very, very long time. She broke serious laws, and when you break laws that hurt children, you go to prison forever." Lucy nodded solemnly. At 5 years old, she was learning harsh lessons about the world that no child should have to learn. Before the attack, Lucy had been the happiest child you could imagine. She loved exploring our neighborhood, counting steps between houses, identifying neighbors by their voices, and making friends with every dog she met. Her kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Robinson, said Lucy was the most curious and brave student she'd ever taught. "Lucy approaches every challenge with such determination," Mrs. Robinson told me during a parent conference. When other children were afraid to try new activities, Lucy would be the first to volunteer. Her blindness never held her back from anything. Lucy had her own special routines that helped her navigate independently. She knew exactly 47 steps from our front door to Mrs. Chen's mailbox, 23 steps from there to the corner, and 15 more steps to her best friend Maya's house. She could identify our car by the sound of the engine and knew which neighbor was approaching by their footsteps. The FBI charged Karen with multiple federal crimes: attempted murder, assault with a deadly weapon, child endangerment, kidnapping, hostage-taking, and federal hate crimes for targeting a disabled child. Agent Rodriguez, U.S. Attorney Johnson told me, "This is one of the most serious cases we've seen involving violence against disabled children. We're seeking life imprisonment." She held a loaded gun to my daughter's head because she accidentally stepped on her grass while trying to navigate as a blind child. She deserves every year she gets. Karen's lawyer tried to argue that she was having a mental breakdown and didn't understand her actions. But the prosecution had video evidence from security cameras showing that Karen had been planning this attack for weeks. During the investigation, The FBI discovered even more disturbing evidence about Karen's hatred toward disabled people. They found her computer filled with research about removing problem residents from neighborhoods and emails to other HOA presidents asking about legal ways to exclude disabled families. Agent Rodriguez, Detective Williams told me during the investigation, Karen had been researching this attack for months. She looked up information about making threats appear justified and even researched disability laws to find loopholes. Karen's internet search history revealed disturbing queries like how to force disabled families to move away, legal ways to complain about disabled children, and property value impact of disabled neighbors. She had also joined online forums where people discussed maintaining neighborhood standards and protecting property investments from undesirable residents. The FBI found receipts showing Karen had purchased the gun 3 months before the attack, specifically after Lucy and I moved to the neighborhood. She had told the gun store owner she needed protection from dangerous individuals in her area. Karen's notebook, found in her house, contained detailed observations about Lucy's daily routines, the time she walked to school, when she played outside, and which routes she took through the neighborhood. She had been stalking my 5-year-old daughter for months. One entry in Karen's notebook read, "Blind kid walked on my grass again today. Parents clearly not teaching her boundaries. Need to take action soon before this becomes permanent problem." Other neighbors starting to complain too. This was completely false. No other neighbors had complained about Lucy. In fact, most of them adored her cheerful greetings and were amazed by her independence. Multiple neighbors testified that Karen had made threats about Lucy for weeks before the attack. She said blind children shouldn't be allowed in regular neighborhoods, Mr. Johnson testified. She called Lucy a safety hazard that was putting other children at risk. Mrs. Peterson described hearing Karen on the phone with someone saying, "I'm going to scare that blind kid so badly that her family moves away. And if they don't leave, I have other plans." The other plans were revealed to be the loaded pistol she pointed at Lucy's head. Karen had also contacted our landlord, trying to get us evicted by claiming that Lucy was destructive to property and a liability risk. When the landlord refused, Karen threatened to sue him for knowingly renting to unsuitable tenants. During the trial, Lucy was allowed to give a brief statement to the jury with me beside her. She wore her special sunglasses that helped protect her sensitive eyes. "The mean lady said I didn't belong in her neighborhood because I can't see good," Lucy said in her small voice. "But I live here with my mommy and this is my home too. I don't understand why being blind makes some grown-ups angry at me." Judge Harrison leaned down to Lucy's level. "Sweetheart, there is absolutely nothing wrong with you. What that lady did was very bad and she's going to be punished for it. Will other blind kids be safe now?" "Yes, because your mommy and all these other good people are going to make sure mean people like her can't hurt anyone again." The prosecution called expert witnesses to testify about the psychological impact of Karen's attack on Lucy and our family. Dr. Michael Chin, a child psychologist, explained to the jury how threatening a disabled child with violence causes both immediate trauma and long-term developmental harm. "Lucy will carry the memory of this attack for the rest of her life," Dr. Chin testified. "The fact that she was targeted specifically because of her disability adds an additional layer of trauma that will require years of therapy to address." Dr. Sarah Martinez, a specialist in childhood PTSD, testified about the specific challenges blind children face when recovering from violent attacks. "Lucy relies on sound and touch to understand her environment," Dr. Martinez explained. "When she heard that gun clicking and felt the metal against her head, it created sensory memories that will be triggered by similar sounds and feelings for years to come." The jury deliberated for only 2 hours before returning with their verdict: guilty on all counts. Karen's face crumpled as Judge Harrison read each guilty verdict. She finally seemed to understand that her life was over. "Karen Williams," Judge Harrison announced, "you have been found guilty of attempted murder of a disabled child, among other serious federal crimes. You will be sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole." "Your Honor, please. I was just trying to maintain neighborhood standards. I never really would have shot her." "Ms. Williams, you held a loaded weapon to a 5-year-old blind child's head for over 20 minutes. You told multiple witnesses that you planned to solve what you called the blind kid problem. Your actions were premeditated, cruel, and unforgivable. The sentence was the harshest possible under federal law. Karen would die in prison for threatening my daughter." Additionally, Judge Harrison continued, "You are ordered to pay $4 million in damages to the Rodriguez family for trauma, therapy costs, and pain and suffering." Karen was led away in shackles, still mumbling about property values and neighborhood standards. Her reign of terror against children was finally over. 6 months after the attack, Lucy had recovered remarkably well. She continued attending kindergarten and playing with neighborhood children who had learned to be more inclusive after witnessing what hatred could lead to. Lucy's therapy sessions with Dr. Sarah Martinez helped her process the trauma while maintaining her natural confidence and curiosity about the world. Lucy has shown incredible resilience, Dr. Martinez told me. She's learned that one bad person doesn't represent all adults, and she's maintained her trust in the community around her. The therapy sessions revealed that Lucy had developed some anxiety about unfamiliar adult voices and loud sounds, but she was working through these challenges with remarkable courage. "I tell the scary thoughts to go away," Lucy explained to Dr. Martinez during one session. "Then I remember all the nice people who helped me, like Mrs. Chen and Maya's mom and the police officers who saved me." The new HOA president, Mrs. Anderson, implemented policies specifically protecting disabled residents and their families. Karen's house was sold, and the proceeds went toward building an accessible playground for children with disabilities. The playground became Lucy's favorite place. It featured textured pathways that helped her navigate independently, wind chimes that created audio landmarks, and raised garden beds filled with aromatic herbs she could identify by smell. Lucy became something of a local hero, receiving letters from blind children across the country who had heard her story. She started a friendship club at school where she helped other kids understand that disabilities don't make people different in ways that matter. "I want to help other blind kids know they're special, not broken," Lucy told me. "Maybe when I grow up, I can be a police officer like you and protect people who need help." "You can be anything you want, sweetheart. And you're already protecting people by showing them that being blind doesn't make you any less wonderful." Karen's case led to new federal legislation specifically protecting disabled individuals from housing discrimination and neighborhood harassment. The Lucy's Law bill was signed by the president 6 months after the attack. The legislation increased penalties for hate crimes against disabled individuals and required all HOA boards to receive training about disability rights and fair housing laws. Local schools began using Lucy's story to teach children about acceptance and inclusion. She visited classrooms to talk about her experiences and answer questions about blindness. "Being blind means I experience the world differently," Lucy would tell the students. "I hear things you might miss and I remember voices and sounds really well. It's not scary or sad, it's just different." The children would ask questions like, "How do you know what colors look like?" and "Can you dream in pictures?" Lucy answered each question with patience and wisdom beyond her years. 2 years later, Lucy is now 7 years old and thriving. She learned to ride a special bike with sound guidance, has friends throughout the neighborhood, and dreams of becoming either an FBI agent like me or a teacher for blind children. Karen is serving her life sentence at Federal Correctional Institution Coleman, where she's been placed in protective custody. Other inmates don't react well to people who threaten children, especially disabled children. Prison reports indicate that Karen spends most of her time in solitary confinement for her own safety. She's tried to appeal her sentence multiple times, but every appeal has been denied. The defendant showed no remorse for threatening to murder a disabled child, the appeals court wrote. The severity of the crime and the vulnerability of the victim warrant the maximum sentence. Our neighborhood has become a model community for disability inclusion. 5 more families with disabled children have moved here because they heard about our inclusive policies and protective community. The annual Lucy's Day celebration brings together families from across the city to promote disability awareness and community acceptance. Lucy always speaks at the event, sharing her story and encouraging other children to embrace differences. "A mean lady tried to hurt me because I'm different," Lucy told the crowd at last year's celebration. "But she taught me something important: there are way more good people than bad people in the world." Lucy often tells people, "A very mean lady tried to hurt me because I'm blind, but she couldn't make me scared of being who I am. And now the laws protect all kids like me because of what happened." Today, when Lucy walks through the neighborhood with her white cane, every neighbor waves and says hello. Children who once stared now approach her with curiosity and kindness, asking questions about how she experiences the world differently. The grass where Karen threatened to kill her is now part of a memorial garden dedicated to protecting all children and celebrating what makes us unique. Lucy helped plant flowers there that she can identify by their different scents: roses, lavender, and jasmine. "This garden smells like hope," Lucy told me while we tended the flowers together. "It reminds everyone that beautiful things can grow where scary things happened." The garden includes a plaque that reads, "In honor of Lucy Rodriguez and all children who face discrimination, May this space remind us that differences make our community stronger. What started as a hate crime against a disabled child became a story of justice, community healing, and legal reform that protects disabled individuals nationwide. Karen lost everything for her hatred and cruelty: her freedom, her reputation, her home, and her life. She chose to see a blind child as a threat instead of a gift to the community. Lucy gained a community that loves and protects her, federal legislation inspired by her story, national recognition for her courage, and the knowledge that good people will always outnumber the evil ones. Most importantly, Lucy learned that her blindness doesn't define her limitations. It defines her unique strengths and perspective that make the world a better place. The gun is gone, but Lucy's courage remains forever, inspiring others to choose love over hate and inclusion over fear. ****